Welcome to Whispering Cabins, where we share cozy horror tales of ghosts, folklore, and forgotten places. So grab a blanket, light a candle, and settle in. The night is waiting. Tonight, we tell the story of the rocking chair in the corner. Eleanor and David had been searching for the perfect retreat. After years of city noise and cramped apartments, they longed for quiet, a place with charm, somewhere they could read by the fire and fall asleep to the sound of wind in the trees. The cottage appeared almost by accident. Tucked down a narrow, winding lane, it looked as though it had grown out of the forest itself. Its stone chimney leaned slightly, ivy hugged the walls, and lace curtains still hung in the windows. The realtor explained that the previous owners had left in a hurry, and much of the furniture came with the house. "That just adds to the charm," David said cheerfully, squeezing Eleanor's hand. She wasn't so sure. Something about the idea of living among strangers' belongings made her uneasy, but the warmth of the little rooms, the shelves stuffed with books, the teacups waiting in the cabinets, softened her doubts. And when she saw the rocking chair in the corner of the sitting room, upholstered in faded floral fabric, she thought of cozy evenings with tea, knitting, and firelight. They signed the papers the next day. The first night was quiet. Crickets sang outside, and the woods pressed close around the cottage. They unpacked only what was necessary: pajamas, toothbrushes, a bottle of wine. As Eleanor drifted towards sleep, she heard it. A gentle creak, creak, from the sitting room below. She nudged David. "Do you hear that?" "Hear what?" he mumbled, already half asleep. "The rocking chair. It's moving." David chuckled. "Old house noises. Go back to sleep." But Eleanor lay awake, listening. The rhythm was unmistakable. Slow, steady rocking, like someone keeping watch through the night. By morning, the chair was still. Sunlight slanted through the windows, gilding the dust motes. Eleanor went downstairs alone. She stood before the chair. Its cushions looked slightly indented, as though someone had just risen from it. She brushed her hand over the fabric. Cold. David came in with 2 mugs of coffee. "Admiring your throne?" "It's not mine," she said softly. That evening, they built a fire and settled in with books. The chair sat in the corner, empty but watchful. Eleanor couldn't stop glancing at it, half expecting it to begin moving even in the warmth of the firelight. When night fell and they climbed the narrow staircase to bed, she whispered, "What if someone used to sit there?" "Every night. That's what chairs are for," David teased, kissing her forehead. "You're letting this place get to you." But Eleanor couldn't shake the thought. The rocking began again after midnight. This time, David heard it too. He sat up, eyes wide. "Okay," he admitted. "That's strange." The creaking went on, unhurried and steady. Neither of them slept much that night. The next morning, they agreed to move the chair. Together, they carried it to the back room, a little parlor with no fireplace, and closed the door. "That should do it," David said firmly. But when Eleanor came down for tea that evening, the chair was back in the sitting room corner, facing the fire. She called David. "I didn't move it," he swore. They stared at it, at the worn arms and faded fabric. It sat perfectly still, as though nothing had happened. Over the following days, the cottage seemed to settle around them. They hung their coats by the door, stacked books on the shelves, and started to believe the house was theirs. But every night, the chair rocked. Eleanor began to notice something else. When she passed the chair, she sometimes caught the faintest scent of lavender and wood smoke, and when the chair rocked, she felt not threatened, but watched, as though the house itself was waiting. Waiting for who? She whispered one night, her eyes on the chair. It was on the 7th night that Eleanor woke with a start. She thought she'd heard a voice, a woman's voice, low and hushed, coming from downstairs. David slept on beside her. She crept down the staircase, heart thudding. The fire had burned low, embers glowing faintly. The rocking chair swayed back and forth, and in the chair, just for a moment, she thought she saw the outline of someone, a woman, her features blurred by shadow. "Who are you?" Eleanor asked, her voice trembling. The rocking slowed, then stopped. The room was empty. The next day, she searched the cottage. In the small attic under the eaves, she found a box of letters, bundled with string. The paper was brittle, the ink faded, but she could just make out the handwriting. "To my dearest Thomas." The letters spoke of waiting. A woman who kept the fire burning each night for a husband who never came home. He had gone to war, and she had promised to wait for him in the chair by the fire. The last letter ended abruptly, ink blurred by what might have been tears. Eleanor sat back on her heels. She could almost see it. The young woman rocking each night, staring into the woods, listening for footsteps that never came. That night, Eleanor placed the bundle of letters gently on the chair. The rocking began as usual, but this time it was different, slower, softer, almost like a sigh. When morning came, the letters were gone, and the chair never rocked again. Eleanor and David lived many happy years in the cottage. They told guests about the charming old furniture, the cozy fireplace, the quiet woods, but they never spoke of the rocking chair in the corner, or how the house had once waited for someone who would never come home. And sometimes, when the fire burned low, Eleanor thought she still smelled lavender and wood smoke, faint as memory. Thank you for joining us tonight at Whispering Cabins, where we tell cozy horror tales. If you enjoyed The Rocking Chair in the Corner, be sure to subscribe for more eerie stories. Until next time, keep warm, keep the lantern lit, and listen closely. Sometimes the shadows have stories to tell.